All right, so welcome back to the Chapter 5 review. We just finished LIFO, okay? Right? We got to see what happens when we have beginning inventory and also include that returns and allowances and so on and so forth and how we calculate it, okay? So the last section we have for the last two inventory worksheets, okay, is we're going to be dealing with weighted average. Okay, so again, these scenarios are going to start off of October, but we're going to start as if we're starting off brand new. Okay, so here you go. Question number 9. Your inventory method is periodic and it is weighted average. Assume that all purchases were made on an account and round to the nearest penny. Okay. Yes.
I just was wondering, when we did that weighted average, we always sell the oldest batch first.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay,
Because with weighted average, we don't care.
okay.
We don't care what
So we
batch
are
came first or what batch came last. So,
okay.
so it's kind of like, think about it. It's like water bottles, right?
Yes,
You're constantly buying crates and crates and crates of water bottle. Does it
yes.
matter which one that you sell out first? Even though, does water even have an expiration date? Some do, some don't. But at the end of the day, you're still going to sell them all out at the end of the given time period, right? Because
Okay.
I mean, water does have a long shelf life. You can stock it
Yes. Okay.
for a long, 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 long time, right? In
So,
this case, does it matter whether we sell those batches, the first batches that we purchased first? No, not necessarily, because at the end of the day, they're all going to get sold out eventually.
okay.
Mm-hmm. So in this case here, let's go ahead. I'm going to show you two ways that we can be able to keep track of our weighted average. But at the end of the day, this is probably the most simpler ones and easier ones to do. Okay, so again, we're assuming we're going to start from our inventory from scratch. Okay, starting on October 5th, we purchased 800 toys at $1 each with a freight of 45. Okay. So it's October 5th, right? We purchased 800 units at $1 with freight of 45. Okay. So that is the first purchase we made. So in this case, right, what is going to be my total purchase price?
800.
$800. Okay, plus 45.
845.
845, giving me a cost per item. Now in this case, right? This is only because we're only purchasing one batch of inventory, right? But let's say since we already know that we are going to be making a bunch of purchases, is it necessary to solve for a cost per item? No, because we don't care about keeping our batches in order. We care about getting the overall total number of units that we purchase and spreading it across evenly with the total amount of costs that we have. So this is more for practice purposes only. If you want to, you can solve for the cost per item. Is it necessary to? Absolutely not. That's just more, you know, added work to you. But in this case, let's just do it for this one scenario here. Let's practice this. What's my average cost per item here?
1.05625.
Okay. So again, if this was the only batch of inventory that you are purchasing, then yes, it is definitely very important that you do solve for your cost per item, because in this case, it'd be that 1.05625, right? But again, we're making more purchases of inventory, so this is not the only number that you need to be looking at. Okay? So let's see what happened next. Okay? Next, right, you end up on October 7 returning 50 broken toys for a full refund. You end up returning 50 broken toys for a full refund. Okay? So again, this is the first one. I'm going to show you first, like by keeping track of all of your inventory first. I'm going to show you that way. And then I'm going to show you that you don't necessarily have to do that extra step anymore, okay, on the second one. Okay, so the first one, here you go. We end up returning 50 of those broken toys, okay? And since we only have one batch of inventory, how much did it cost me to buy this batch of inventory?
It was at $1 a piece.
Yes,
So
okay?
you returned for a change of $50.
Correct. That means our refund is going to be for $50. So, again, let's just build that goods available table once again. Okay. And for this very first batch of inventory, right, I purchased 800, but I end up returning 50 of those items. So I actually am getting 750 items instead. Okay. And of course, my total cost was $845, but because I made a refund for those $50, I'm actually now at $795. So same thing here. You don't necessarily need to solve for the cost per item because in this case, we're going to be getting multiple batches of inventory. Okay? So then let's see. October 10, okay? We end up purchasing 550 toys at $1.25 each, okay? And freight was $30. So 550 toys at $1.25 with a freight of $30. So October 10, 550 at $1.25 with a freight of $30. So what's my purchase price here?
$687.50.
Good. Plus the plus the $30.
$717.50.
Good. Okay. No need to solve for your cost per item. Okay. And then it looks like we end up making another purchase on the 15th. So that means the batch that you purchased on the 10th, nothing was wrong with that batch of inventory. So that means we can carry that into my goods available. But in this case, we also have to record that we end up purchasing an additional 1,050 toys at $1.50 with a freight of $50. Okay. So 1050 at 150 with a freight of $50. Right? On October 15. 1050 at $1.50 with a freight of $50. So in this case, what would be my purchase price here?
$15.75.
Good. Plus that $50.
$16.25.
$16.25. And then don't forget, let's add that second batch of inventory because we didn't return anything here. So we can carry this into, oh, no cost per item. We can carry this into my goods available for that $717.50. Okay. But then on October 18, you end up returning 150 toys. They were the wrong model this time. So in this case, you were willing to accept a 25% discount this time because this time they sent you the wrong model. It wasn't even the right toy to begin with. So they said, I'm so sorry for that. We'll give you a 25% discount for this model. Okay? But at the end of the day, you could still sell this model in your store. It could be a limited time toy offered, okay? So in this case, we accepted it. So we're going to refund 150 toys, but actually keeping them, but accepting a 25% discount, okay? So, right, how many items did we actually return? We didn't return any, but we know that it cost me $1.50, right? So in this case, I need to know what is 25% of that 150 at $1.50. Okay, and we want 25% of that.
56.25.
So we got $56.25 back from this purchase here. Okay, so in this case, I still
To add your 150 on the quantity returned, or your calculations won't end up right. You got a 0 on my screen anyway.
all right. Say that again.
In your returns, my screen shows that you got a 0 for the quantity returned.
We didn't return anything. We kept the 150 items.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
No worries. All right. So in this case, right, we still have all 1050 items, right? Because in this case, right, the vendor convinced us, hey, there's nothing wrong with the toys. We're sorry we sent you the wrong model, but you could still sell that toy model, right? It might be a limited edition toy that you have exclusive in your store. Okay? And of course, you could say, okay, that's fine, right? Because at the end of the day, your job is you're trying to sell for this vendor. So we said, okay, we'll accept that 150 toys because they are the wrong model. But because they said, we're so sorry for shipping you out the wrong item because you didn't request this, you ordered the original model, they gave us a discount because that was their mistake on their hand. Okay? So in this case, we accepted it and we said, okay, we'll accept your 25% discount. So in this case, we're only getting discounted off of those 150 items, but we're not returning any of the items. So in this case, we still have that 1050, okay? But this time, right, I got charged, right, that $16.25, but I end up getting that $56 refund, okay? So I should be at a new grand total of that $1,568.75. Right? That's my new batch of inventory right there. Okay? So that's all that. So let's see what happened next. October 20th, we end up purchasing an additional 300 toys at $1.75 with a freight of 15. So 300 at $1.75 with a freight of 15 on October 20th. So 300, $1.75, and 15. Okay? So what's my purchase price here for my fourth batch of inventory?
525.
Good. Plus 15.
540.
540. Good. Okay. And on the 25th of October, you end up returning 50 defective toys for a full refund. So in this case, they end up giving you broken toys, which you can't sell. So in this case, you asked for a full refund on those 50 toys. Okay? So because I'm actually going to be returning the product, at what unit price did I purchase this last batch of inventory for?
175.
Okay, so my full refund is going to be
$87.50.
$87.50. So in this case, my 300, I end up returning 50 of those items, so I only have 250. Okay. My original total was 540, but I end up getting a refund for that $87. So now I'm at $452.50. Okay. And it says to me right here that on October 31st, you end up having a remainder of 1,200 toys on hand. So someone went down to the basement and counted that you have a total of 1,200 toys on hand. So that means I reached the end of my cycle here, and I need to record that my ending balance is 1,200 units. So this is where, once again, I now need to solve for my total amounts here, okay? So what is my total purchases? How many items did I buy for the month of October?
$2,700.
We purchased 2,700, okay? And what was my total purchase price?
$37,2750.
3587.50. Close enough. All right, so what is my granite total freight?
I got $140.
Good. All right, bringing me my total cost to be $3,727.50. Okay, so that's my total purchases. I should also calculate my goods available as well as my returns and allowances. So in this case, what was my total goods available?
2,600.
2,600 at a granite total cost of
$3,533.75.
good. And what was my grand total returns?
Was 100 pieces.
At a grand total refund for
193.75.
excellent. Okay, so good. So there we go. We have these numbers. So let's go ahead and plug it into my left side here. Okay, so my total purchases, I purchased 2,700 at that 3,587.50. I end up returning 100 units, which cost me which returned to me $193.75. So therefore, right, refunds will decrease your purchases. Okay. So I'm at 2,600 units at $3,393.75. We need to include our freight, which adds nothing to quantity, but it does add to my cost by $140. So in this case, my grand total is going to be that $3,533.75, which again, in this case, because we don't have beginning inventory, of course, if we don't have beginning inventory, my net purchases will become my goods available. Okay? Now, in this case, right, because of everything that we've calculated here, right, at the end of the day, my goods available came out to be this. So whether you created your goods available table, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because we don't care which batch came first and which batch came last. All we care about is how much did I end with and how much was my total cost. Because at the end of the day, what happens here is we now need to solve for my average cost per item, right? Because this is where I'm going to say, I don't care how much each item cost me. I don't care which batch was the most expensive and which batch was the least expensive. I need to find a price point that's straight in the middle. Okay, so that's what I got to do. I got to find the average. So in this case, I'm going to take my grand total cost of $3,533.75, and I'm going to divide it across my total quantity of 2,600 units. So in this case, what is my average cost per item?
1.3591346.
Okay. Okay, 1.35913 5. Good. Okay? Excellent. Now, once we have this number, everything else is easy. Okay? So, starting with the first one here, if I had 2,600 units to begin with, and I now have only 1,200 units left over, my assumption is I must have sold 1,400 units. And this is where you can solve for either or ending balance or solving for cost of goods sold, because at the end of the day, the average cost per item is going to be the same. So whether you solve for either one, right? If I solved for my ending balance, 1,200 units at that 1.3591346, this is going to give me a total of 1630.96. And if I apply that same formula to this one, if I did 1,400 times that 1.3591346, I would get that 1902.79. So in this case, much more easier to calculate. Okay, and I can, if my cost of goods sold is going to be that 1902, right? And my ending should be this minus each other, they end up panning out the same amount. So in this case, I don't care which batch came first. I don't care which batch came last. All I care about is what is my total number of units I have, right? What is my average cost per item? That means every item I sell is going to cost me the same amount. So in this case, whether I solve for my ending balance or I solve for my cost of goods sold, I'm going to get my answer to be like this. And that's it. Simple, easy, straightforward. Okay? So, now that we finished my inventory worksheet, right? We can go ahead and plug our numbers in to go ahead and start off our conversion entry. So, in this case, right, what should I be expected to see on my journal? Okay, how do I journalize my conversion entry? All of this, right? All of this is what I should see on my inventory worksheet. Okay, except for the date, obviously, is going to be October 31st, right? So what was the total value of my ending inventory?
$1,630.96.
Okay. What was the total value of my cost of goods sold?
1902.79.
Okay. What was the total value of my returns and allowances?
193.75.
And what was the total purchases?
37.27.50, or is it, no, it's the other one, huh? 35.87.50.
Good, right? Yeah, because we're going to calculate the freight separately.
Yeah, freight.
Good. Okay. And of course, the freight was that 140. Okay.
Right.
And of course, making sure that we, didn't misclick or anything like that. We got 37.27.50 on the left with a 37.27.50 on the right. Okay. So usually that should be your total there. So conversion entry, okay, for periodic inventory, right? What do we know? Well, we know that we had 1,200 toys on hand, and we sold 1,400 toys, and we returned 100 toys. Okay, good. So then now, what happens next here is that now for the last question here, for question 11, or yeah, 11, it says to continue on the inventory problem from question number 9. Your inventory method is still periodic and it's still weighted average, okay? But here's the piece of information that we have. On October 31st, you should have a total of 1,200 toys on hand. And we know that for a fact because that's what we solved for in our inventory worksheet. We had a total of 1,200 units at a grand total cost of $1630.96. So all I have to do is copy that information right here in my inventory on hand, okay? For that 1630.96, okay? Because in this case, we already don't care what came first or what came last, right? This is what my ending inventory occurred in my previous worksheet, right? This is a sum of everything. So it could be a mixture of both beginning and or the first batch of inventory that I made and the last batch of inventory I made. Because at the end of the day, I just mixed them all up. And that is my beginning inventory. Okay? So that means, right, my total sum for my beginning inventory is going to be that 1,200 units at that 1630.96. Okay. And again, I'm going to show you this because it doesn't matter whether you build your goods available window or table here, right? Because I can be able to solve for the exact same answer by figuring out what my goods available is. Okay. So now that we have that, next thing we have here is November 5th. We end up purchasing 600 toys at $1.65 with a freight of $25. So 600, $1.65, and $25 is freight. So November 5th, we purchased 600 units at $1.65 with a freight of $25. 600. So 600 units at $1.25 at $1.65 with a $25 freight. Okay? So in this case, what is my total purchase price?
$9.90.
Okay? Plus the $25 freight.
$10.15.
$10.15. Okay? Don't need to solve for my average cost per item because I have beginning inventory. It's going to change no matter what. Okay? November 7, you end up returning 100 broken toys for a full refund. Okay? So, we end up returning 100 broken toys, right? Which we originally purchased them at $1.65. So our refund is going to be for $1.65. Now in this case, right, is it necessary for us to build our goods available table? No, because at the end of the day, we're going to calculate how many items that we purchased, right? We're going to subtract how many we returned. We're going to also add our beginning inventory. So then at the end of the day, my goods available table is going to create itself without us keeping track of it. Because at the end of the day, right, we're just going to mesh everything together because we don't care. And we don't care what came first and we don't care what batch came last, right? We just care about the grand total amount of units. So in this case, I don't even need to build that table. I can just move on and just calculate my goods available by using the left side of the inventory worksheet and be able to solve for my average cost right then and there. Okay. So then, November 10, I end up purchasing additional 700 toys at $1.80 with a freight of 40. Okay. 700, $1.80, and 40. We purchased this on November 10. Okay. So November 10. Okay. So purchase price
$12.60,
$12.60 plus 40
$1,300.
$1,300. Okay. Then November 20th, we end up purchasing an additional 500 toys at $1.85 with a freight of 25. So in this case, 500 at $1.85 with a freight of 25. Excuse me. So purchase price
$9.25,
plus 25.
oops, $9.50.
Gave you a grand total of $9.50. Okay. Then November 21st, we end up returning 50 toys. They were the wrong color, and we were still willing to accept a 20% discount. So 50 of those toys were the wrong color, but we end up, they convinced us to keep the items, and we were willing to accept that 20% discount. So 50 at a 20% discount. So in this case, we didn't actually return the items because we end up actually getting a discount on them. So right now, we purchased that on the 20th for $1.85. So 50 of those at $1.85, and we're only going to be calculating 20% discount off of that. So in this case, $20 of those 50 items at $1.85.
It's $18.50.
Good, $18.50. Okay. And then let's see. Making sure we didn't skip any here. Last but not least, on November 25th, we end up purchasing our last additional 100 toys at $1.75 with a freight of $5. Okay. On November 25th, 100 items at $1.75 with a freight of $5. So in this case, $1.75 plus $5 gives you
$180 total.
Yep, $180. Okay. So of course, we finally reached the end of the month. So it says right here on November 30th, you have a total of 600 toys left on hand. So that means 600 is my ending balance in my quantity. So now I need to solve for my total purchases. So I purchased a total of
1900.
We purchased a total of 1,900 units, okay, at a total purchase price of
$3,350.
3,350, okay? Total freight
95.
95, giving you a grand total cost of $3,445, okay? And let's go ahead and solve for my total returns and allowances here, okay? So how many items did I return in grand total?
100.
We only returned 100 items, but our total refund was for
$183.50.
good, $183.50. So we have all the numbers that we need to solve for our ending or for our inventory worksheet right here. Okay. So we purchased 1,900 units at that $3,350. We end up returning 100 of those units, okay, for a grand total refund of that 183. Okay, so that should reduce it. So I should have 1,800 units at a total cost of $3,166.50. Okay. We need to add our freight, right? So we're selling 1,800 units at a total cost of $3,261.50. Okay. We also need to add in our beginning balance because we carried it from our previous inventory worksheet for that 1,200 units at that grand total of that $1,630.96. Okay. We're going to carry our net purchases that we solved from above, and we're going to add these two numbers together to get me my grand total goods available to be 3,000 units at $4,892.46. Okay. So the only thing that cost that goods available table does is it just helps you match this number. But in this case, it's just an extra step to just, make sure that you're calculating everything correctly. But at the end of the day, if you calculated this amount by just using these information here, you should get the same exact answer. Okay? So that means if I have a total of 3,000 units at a grand total cost of $4,892.46, what is my average cost per item?
It'd be $2. Do you want the whole long number?
Mm-hmm.
2.038525.
Let me see. I definitely did not get 2 point.
Oh, the 3,000. Was I was doing the
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. 3,000 at a grand total of 3,000 units. Okay. Right? If you did solve for it, this is what I got. I got $1.63,082. And of course, you have the option once again, right? If I started with 3,000 units and have 600 left, I must have sold 2,400 units. And you can choose. Do you want to solve for your ending inventory or solve for your cost of goods sold? Because at the end of the day, your average cost per item is $1.63082. And if you do your formula to calculate this, right, If I do my ending balance first, 600 at that $1.63.2, I'll get 978.49. If I do the same thing to this bottom one here, I should get 3,913.97. Okay, and again, you can double check your work by subtracting these two numbers, and I end up getting the same thing, $978.49. Okay, and that is it for your weighted average. Okay, including beginning inventory as well as purchase returns and allowances. Okay, so let's finish off this with our conversion entry. Okay, what should you see in your conversion entry? Okay, you should see all of this. Okay, in your journal here. And all I'm doing here is I am plugging in my numbers. Okay, and it is November 30th, right? So in this case, what was my total ending balance in my inventory?
$978.49.
What was my total cost of goods sold?
$3,913.97.
What was my total returns and allowances?
$183.50.
My total purchases?
Was $3,350.
And my total freight?
Was $95.
And my total beginning inventory?
Was $1,630.96.
Okay, so once again, double confirm that I got $5,075.96 on the left, $5,075.96 on the right. And last thing here, conversion entry for periodic inventory. Yes, I could have copied this, I just forgot to. Okay. What do we know? We have 600 toys on hand, right? And we sold 2,400 toys and return 100 toys. Okay? And this concludes the chapter 5 review, right? We got to see yesterday, we got to see FIFO. Today we got to see LIFO, and then we also got to look at a problem for weighted average. Any questions in regards to how we calculate it or how we use the inventory worksheet to try to get our answers and our numbers to match, as well as calculating the different costs?